we can now see what the effects of the tariffs that were imposed by President Trump on the Chinese. These were done in 2018 and 2019, while, of course, he was president. At their peak, they covered $370 billion worth of Chinese exports into the United States. That was roughly 2/3 of all those goods made in China and shipped to the U.S. Since then, these tariffs have been reduced, even by the Trump administration in part. But they're still there, but instead of covering roughly 2/3, they now only cover half. Now let's take a look. What did they accomplish? First of all, they cost U.S. businesses and consumers a great deal of money. President Trump repeatedly said something that a first-year student in economics would flunk a course for saying. He kept saying the Chinese have to pay for the tariffs he imposed on them. That is false. A tariff is a tax, that's all, just a special name for a tax. It's a tax paid by the buyer of something, not by the seller of something. It's like a sales tax at the store. When you buy something, they add that you pay an extra tax. Tariffs are just like that. If you bought something from China for $100 and there was a tariff attached to it, you would now have to pay the $100 to China, as you did before, plus the tariff you would have to pay that goes to Uncle Sam, who imposes the tariff. So the payer of the tariffs imposed by Trump were the United States businesses who, if they could, of course, would pass the extra cost of the tariff they paid onto the final consumer when they sold to the final consumer whatever they imported from China. This is not all that complicated. So the burden is on the American businesses and the American consumer. Just a little footnote for the conservatives in my audience. In imposing a massive tariff, Mr. Trump, fancying himself a conservative, was taxing like there's no tomorrow. It was an enormous increase in taxes paid by businesses and the consumer in the end, upon whom these taxes were passed off. So the notion that Mr. Trump cut taxes is never correct. He cut them for corporations and the rich with his massive tax cut at the end of 2017, but he whacked business and consumers across the board by his tariffs. Did they work? Answer, not even a little. If they were supposed to hurt the Chinese, there's little sign of it. Here's what the Chinese did in response. Number one, they lowered where they could the price of what they produce, because that way the lowered price that the Chinese were able to achieve offset part of the tariff the United States government added to the price. So the impact to the final consumer was less. How did the Chinese manage that? They used their technological prowess. They made production more efficient. They worked doubly hard at extra efficiency, which is now showing up in their gains of productivity relative to the United States. So what we did, in short, was stimulate them to be more productive, which in the medium and long run is self-defeating for the United States.